And Chaim Bloom joins us this week on the Harbor One Hotline. Hey, Chaim, how you doing?
Good morning. Doing all right.
Doing okay. We are. Thanks for taking the time this morning. And as you can imagine, been talking a lot about this baseball team this week and this morning in particular. And I wanted to start off and ask you just about last night an additional 3 errors for this team. And I'm sure that's the being where they are now with 43 and leading the American League, not what you expected. When you look at a team that is struggling defensively, and in particular this one, where do you kind of put the blame on for that?
I don't think of it in terms of blame. I mean, look, ultimately, I'm responsible for the whole thing. So, if you want to play the blame game, put it on me. That's how this business works, but that's not going to be productive. It's not going to solve anything. We all have jobs to do, everybody in and out of uniform, to make this better. And like you said, right now we're just not playing winning defense. We've not been our best selves for, a little over a couple weeks. And there's winnable games that we've let slip away because we haven't, nailed down routine plays like we need to. And everybody knows that. It's not a secret. But it is a fact, and it's just a case, and we have to improve if we want to accomplish something.
Chaim, there are people out there who think that you're dreaming about the 2024-2025 season, looking ahead, and it's coming at the expense of this year's roster. What do you say to those people?
I would say, I don't look at it that way at all. We're obviously building back up towards something, and we're trying to do it the right way. There are no shortcuts in this business, right? You try to take shortcuts, you usually end up getting burned. You end up, paying a price at some point for it. So we're trying to do this the right way. But we're trying to win now and down the line. And the fact of the matter is right now in baseball, you look around, the best way to accomplish both and the best way to win right now is through good young players. So the attention we paid, to the pipeline and restocking that pipeline, it's not a hobby. It's not like these guys are collector's items. They're the players you win with. And a lot of when we have played well this year, it has been because of those players that, we put a lot of time and effort into developing and trying to help grow. Obviously, there are some growing pains with them, but, the upside that we have and the upside that just about every team has is going to be through those players taking steps forward and through the core of a team continuing to advance itself. We see time and again, there's a lot of flashy things you can do to grab headlines that time and again don't always correlate with winning. Winning comes from playing good baseball. Winning comes from, having a good roster that fits together, that can play with the speed of the game and knows how to execute. We've shown the ability to do that, but we haven't shown it consistently enough. And we need to step it up in that regard.
But couldn't you say you're paying the price now watching this team be so ineffective on the field? I mean, it just has been one of the worst stretches of defense I've seen in 20-plus years of watching the Red Sox.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, we're all watching it, and the guys in the clubhouse are as frustrated as anybody. This is a big league. We can't sit here and make excuses. We need to be better. This group is capable of better. We have to start showing it.
When it comes to something like the Little League home run the other night, is that from your perspective, is that embarrassing for this ball club?
Watching it in real time, that's exactly the word that I used. Probably the same thing as a lot of people who are watching that in real time. That's an in the moment reaction. That's probably not all that helpful. You got to break down. Obviously there's some aspects of that look bad that are the result of not doing the right things early on at the beginning of the play. And so once it's over and you break it down and you figure out who should have done what, there's some things that are physical mistakes that throw sales. That's going to happen. We've seen that team do that to us a couple times, as far as put a guy in motion as the ball gets to the infield 10 line right away that they're going to score them. We need to be more ready for that than we were. That's where all the problems on that play started. That's a pretty simple thing that we didn't execute, and everything else stemmed from there. So it really is about just starting that play the right way and winning the beginning of the play.
Chaim, I've wondered what has changed in baseball. Like, you see Paxton the other night go 7 innings, but now that seems like a feat if a pitcher does that. What has changed in the game that now a quality start is 5 innings? Is there something with the analytics, or is it just pitchers can't go 7 consistently no more?
I think it's case by case. There's a lot of different things going on. I mean, Pax is electric. That was awesome, by the way. But different guys, obviously. The amount of pitchers stuff is better than it's ever been, both collectively and in a lot of individual cases. The amount of effort that takes. Obviously, some of it's just physics, right? It puts a lot of strain on their bodies, and there's a recovery aspect to it, and just how much you want to push them. And like you said, I mean, you could call it analytics, but all it is just the reality is that hitters get a lot better every time they see the starter, and teams are more mindful of that. Actually, talk about someone like Pax. One of the things that Pax actually points out about himself, and it is true if you look at it, like he's a guy who. His stuff can build over the course of a game, right? It can get better, deeper in games. A lot of guys aren't like that. And, I think we're just better able to understand what that means. And, teams are doing what they're doing in the service of winning. If they think there's something that's going to help them win a ball game, even if it's a quick hook, they're going to do it. So I think it's a combination of all those factors. It's a combination of just better understanding, how much better hitters get every time they see a pitcher. And it's also, trying to take care of arms and do right by individual arms. You see us, obviously, early in the year especially, AC was really taking care of those starters. That's something that's a formula that's really worked, for us and for him over the course of the time he's managed. And it is partly about just making sure that you're giving everybody the best chance to get through the marathon as well.
Chaim Bloom is our guest. Speaking of pitching, post-MRI update on Chris Sale?
Yeah, no update to pass along at this time. Like Chris said, we're going to have an update when we just have a more complete picture of this. We want to make sure that we're obviously doing everything we need to do to completely understand what the progression is going to look like from here. He did say, and I can repeat that this isn't something that's going to end up in a surgical situation. We're fortunate in that regard, but obviously anytime you have something in the shoulder that leads to downtime, that obviously is going to take some time. We just want to make sure we know exactly what to do in terms of course of treatment, and then that way we'll be able to better communicate that to everybody following the club.
Last Wednesday night, Alex Cora told the media that the Red Sox are not a good fielding team, and that they have a bunch of pitchers that don't strike out hitters that allow balls in play. Has he voiced that frustration to you, and how would you rectify that?
He doesn't need to. We all feel it, and that's you can just look objectively at that. We haven't been a good defensive team. Early on in the year, we were missing a lot more bats. We weren't throwing strikes the way we wanted to, and we have started to throw some more strikes, but obviously that has also led to some more balls in play, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it just means we got to convert those balls into outs. We haven't done that well. Some of it obviously has been working our way through. Some of the injuries have been to some of our better defensive players. We have to have depth. We have to be able to fill in for those guys. And some of the guys that have filled in have performed capably, but it hasn't always been with an emphasis on defense. But it still gets back to just trying to put the team out there that can win ball games. And, scoring runs and preventing runs is important. But obviously the formula for preventing them just hasn't clicked. And, that's something that is a combo of making sure we can get the right personnel in the right spots, and then also help them execute as well as they can.
Chaim, you said earlier in the interview that you're responsible as the person in charge of baseball operations. When was the last time you spoke with John Henry about the club this year?
During this last series. Can't remember exactly when it was, but it was during the Rays series.
And does he express support? We don't hear from him other than the start of the season down in Fort Myers. So what is his view of this club at this point?
Yeah, look, he's, as you guys know, incredibly competitive, incredibly focused, and look, we are where we are. This is not where anybody wants to be. There's been over the course of the year, again, there's been points where we played really well, and we've shown, what. Even honestly, I don't even think playing that well. It's like we were absolutely playing our best There still wasn't everything going right, and we were winning ball games big time, and there were a lot of positives. He's seen those, obviously happy about those, and then when we play like this, he's not happy. Unhappy. I think it's as simple as that. This isn't where we expect to be. No one, least of all our ownership, wants to see the type of baseball we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks.
Chaim, Justin Turner said this week essentially that he believes in this team, but that there need to be other guys that do. Have you seen that, and is that a concern for you?
I might be missing exactly what you're referring to. I think I saw a quote from JT that I interpreted that as, and knowing just how he feels from discussions with him and a couple of the other veterans, that it's not that he was saying, hey, I believe in this team and other people don't. I think there is a lot of belief in there. I think when you go through these stretches, it's very easy for, especially amongst players who haven't been through as much as JT has, to have that belief start to waver. Okay. And the way I understood that was him saying, hey, this has been a collective belief. We obviously haven't lived up to it to get us away from what we all believed going in, and we believed, when we were playing well. And, you have to be able to maintain that belief in order to have a chance to have success. So that's how I understand. I don't want to speak for him, but that's how I understood what he was saying. It wasn't I'm a yes and other people are a no. It was more like we have to remember how we feel about the group in this room, and that's going to help us live up to, what we feel we can accomplish.
Hi, I come from the world of football, and so a lot of things in football, it's about the relationship between the GM and the head coach and how they work well together with bringing in talent. And, we talk about it here all the time in other sports, whether it's Brad Stevens and Missoula. What's the relationship dynamic between you and Alex Cora when it comes to trying to figure out how do you add players to the team, maybe how do you subtract players to the team, trade deadline? Is he a big part of that, or is that something that is separate? You do that part with the front office and the baseball operations, and he focuses really just about managing the players?
No, he's a huge part of it. I mean, he has been since, obviously, before he left in 20, that was a very short period of time. But, since coming back, from that winter onward, not only is he a huge asset in recruiting, but also, just how the club fits together. And I think that's one thing I talked about this offseason. And I do think we've shown it. Obviously, last couple of weeks, we just haven't played well. So we haven't shown it as much. But we have shown at times this is a roster that I think is much easier for him to use. And a lot of that came through collaboration with him and what roles guys fit into, whether it's on the position player side or the pitching side. You saw it the other night. And it's actually interesting. It didn't work out in the moment, right? We're facing Bieber. We had a lefty-heavy lineup. They go to a lefty. Alex has a bench where he can bring the righties in a critical spot. We did that. It didn't work in that moment, but I think it was the right move. And fortunately, the baseball gods had our backs at that. It came back around to some right-on-right matchups later in that inning when we rallied, and that's when those guys came through. So sometimes it comes back around and you get the benefit of it. And that's something we didn't have the ability for him to do as much, just be able to make the right in-game switches. It was something we talked a lot about. Obviously we all have our own jobs to do, and we see some players exactly the same, some players we see differently, but there are guys it's not fair to them to start pointing out certain guys, but there are guys that he saw something that he pushed us on that we end up getting, and over time come to appreciate some of the things that he sees, and then vice versa. There are guys that we brought in that maybe it took a little while to click, and then when they start clicking, he says this guy is exactly what your group said he would be. That's how you work together well, but you have to have that constant conversation because there's no sense having a player. I'm not a football guy, so I don't know exactly how this works in football. I think there you get into things like schemes and stuff where it becomes even more critical, but there's no sense having a player if he's not going to be able to be used in a way that maximizes his value, and that's what you really need to have up and down your roster is a roster that fits together well, where players can be put in positions that allows them to feature what they do well. Sometimes injuries don't allow you to do that on a given day, but that's why you want to have different options so you can do that and not.
You said at the start of this interview that this team's performance in the end is on you. When you took this job, did you have an expectation time-wise on when this team would win a World Series again?
I don't believe that thinking that way is helpful or productive. I mean, you want to try to win the World Series every year. I think if you had asked me or anybody to lay out a course, for where we were when I came in here, I don't think it would have had us going to the ALCS in 21, and it also wouldn't have had us finishing last in 22. The point is to give yourself the best chance, while you're building it right, and then that allows good things to happen. I don't think to me, you set expectations that way, you're also limiting yourself. You should be gunning for it every time you take the field, and you also should be building it right. And I think you can do both. Maybe it's a little harder to do both, but that's been the project from the beginning of my time here. And I think it's what we owe our fans is, we knew we needed to build this thing back up. We also know that Red Sox fans deserve a chance to win every single night. And so you try to build a club with both ends. And, when you do that, sometimes it allows really good things to happen.
Chaim, speaking of trying to get, the fans something that's representative on the field and winning now while building, have you made any phone calls? Have you been active at all about improving this year's club for, to get out of last place and, start contending for a playoff spot?
Yeah, we always are. Sometimes those really small scale in a sense, like, when we brought in Pablo. And again, that was, probably with absolutely no disrespect to him. I think anybody would say that was obviously a smaller deal. And, it paid some dividends right away. That's the only thing we limit ourselves to at this time. Realistically, you usually don't see, bigger moves come until close to the trade deadline. But the way I view it is we should always be talking. The way this business works is for every 100 conversations you have, you might end up with one deal. But that just means you have to have a lot of conversations. And sometimes a player doesn't fit us, or the match isn't there, or we feel like, we made a good offer and the team prefers somebody else's offer. There's a lot of different ways it can go down. The only thing that we can't have happen is a player that could fit us, moving and we didn't know he was available. So the only way to do that is to be active in conversation.
Chaim Bloom, thank you for taking the time.
You bet. You guys take care.
All right.